Editing isn't about cutting things out. It's about revealing what was always underneath. Every artist is a sculptor, whether they're using words, pixels, or choices. Hello, my beautiful beings. My name's Damaris. Welcome back to Muse, the podcast where we are talking about creativity, being an artist, personal growth, but also how we envision the future of our work, the future of our lives, the future of our world, and how all these things are integrated into the people we believe that we are, the way that we create and move in the world through self-expression and personal growth. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, keep listening, because we're talking about a really interesting topic that I actually haven't heard a lot of people talk about before, which is the concept of editing as a whole. It seems like it might be a really boring subject, but there's actually some really crucial and pivotal aspects of what this word actually means and how we can apply it to our daily lives, not just as creatives, but as human beings existing in this world. If any of you have ever been told to just keep pushing, just keep creating, just make more, do more, but you've been feeling the pull to refine instead, then this episode might really help to clarify why that might be. Because editing is not about the endless amount of output that you do. It's one of the secrets to creative depth. You'll see by the end of this episode, it's actually going to help you to understand how much it can be a revelation. Think of your life as this ginormous block of marble. Creation is the material, the marble, the piece of work that hasn't yet been defined. Editing is the tools that you're going to use to reveal the form that you're sculpting into this piece of marble. Every decision you make about cutting into that marble, taking away, chiseling out, deciding what you're keeping or not, defines the shape of your identity. And for those of you thinking, okay, cool, I get this metaphor, this is for artists, how does this make sense for my personal life? I'm not an artist, I'm not a sculptor. Editing isn't just for creative people. Mind you, I think everyone's creative, but that's besides the point. Editing is for anyone who makes anything, creates anything. It could literally be a piece of actual art. It could be writing. It could be your outfit for the day. At some point or another, editing in any of these areas can help define who you are, your identity, more clearly, more succinctly. It helps you to see the details that maybe you didn't pay attention to when you initially started. Because refinement actually equals restraint and rhythm. There's a flow, but also there's structure. You create the structure, and you can't see the structure until you remove the things that are no longer needed. Those are the little pieces you're chiseling away to get to the structure underneath. Okay, so now you're saying, how do I even approach this? How would I do this in my day-to-day life? I think first and foremost, maybe the most important area that you can take a look at to edit will be your emotions. Yep, I said it. Emotions can be edited. And what are those emotions that we can edit? I think a lot of that comes from the self-talk that we say up here, but we feel in here. That I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, I'm not worthy. Even saying things like, I can't, Those are all drafts of things that if we're doing an inventory, we can understand that, yep, these things, they gotta go. We don't need them in our minds. We can edit those things out. We can choose to change the way that we respond or talk to ourselves if we want to, if we're intentional about the way that we want to approach this next month, let's say, this next stage of our life, this end of the year, even. You know, it's just like the mentality that we can switch to move into the editing and how we want to be approaching our life. Knowing what feelings to express versus refine is an art form of its own. I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not, but it is possible. How are you editing your emotions? How are you checking in and chiseling away the things that are no longer serving you? Think about it. The next area that I think we can edit is the self itself. The whole of us. The more we grow and outgrow our creative identities and identities in general, the more that self-editing isn't self-rejection. We're evolving. It's necessary to reflect, to edit, to change. It comes with the person that we want to become. We all have a vision of that person, the character of that person, the way that that future you carries themselves, handles their emotions, approaches life and work and relationships. That version of you is not that far away. But in order to get there, we have to do some self-reflection. We have to do some editing. So that is editing as the being, which is important to say, because without you being edited, how will you know, as an artist, as a creative, as someone who expresses themselves to the world, how do you know that what you are sharing and expressing is the most authentic version of you if there is no editing to who you are as a person? How are you going to edit when it comes to other things outside of you? Whether that's your art, your projects, the way you go about your business, even in building relationships. How can you edit and analyze and reflect on the things that you want to change within you? Because editing is part of a cycle. It is something that will come naturally as our lives ebb and flows, as we change and evolve to become hopefully better human beings in this world. I think being able to integrate revision and refinement in your life in an intentional way can really help to bring this cycle in a more cohesive flow, less jarring, oh, I need to make some changes now because shit's hit the fan, you know, but more, okay, let me do this quarterly. Let me do this every 6 months and really check in with the things that I was doing, what's working, what's not, and how much closer can I get to the person I want to become by making some minor tweaks here and there, by checking in a little bit more thoroughly in those areas or things that I have been kind of brushing off. And that could literally be in any area of your life. That's the whole point. Maybe in some areas you're super on top of it. Yeah, I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I don't want. These things don't belong here anymore. Beautiful. But in other areas, you might not be as on top of it, as strategic, as detail oriented, which is natural. Those are probably some of the harder areas to look at and to dig into, which are probably the areas that you should be looking at. I think another approach could be even doing minor edits on the daily basis, on a weekly basis, so it doesn't become this huge overhaul of who you are, which, guilty, I tend to do that quite frequently, like often. But in a good way, in a healthy way, like I feel like I need it and it helps me to move forward to my goals. It just is also very draining and it's a lot of work to change so much of yourself or of the things that you're doing, and editing, going through like projects of things that you're like, this is no longer working for me. And some of those things might be really hard, because I'm thinking about a few of them, but I'm like, wow, I worked really hard on those projects, but I don't think they actually align with the person that I'm becoming anymore, that I think I need to remove them. I think I don't need to have them out to the public anymore. That's not really aligned with who I am or who I'm becoming. That sucks because that took a lot of work and it was a lot of effort and I was hoping for a certain result. But it's always a lesson. There's always a learning process that I can be like, okay, I can take away from that and make something better, whether it's within myself or a new project. I can take that information and put it into something else. That's what editing is. That's how editing works. And you can move pieces around to make a more cohesive, more flowing, natural, bigger picture. I think I wouldn't have understood this as much if I didn't actually edit videos like this. Editing is so beautiful. It's very tedious to do because it's very detail oriented, which is not my best traits about myself. I'm a very much a big picture type of person. But with editing, I have to be so attentive. I have to be listening, looking at micro expressions. Do I do it perfect all the time? No, of course not. But I get better, and I've gotten better since I've started. And it's interesting to see how much the editing process can actually reveal a much truer essence of what you were trying to create to begin with. You won't know that this video, this episode that I'm making right now, had so much extra stuff that didn't need to be there, that didn't need to be said. But when you're in the moment, sometimes it doesn't come out exactly the way you want. Maybe you make a weird face. So you got to take that stuff out to make it flow, to make it unified. And it is such a beautiful process to do that with creative work. And I think it is important to know how to be able to do that in your life, but more so how to do that with yourself, because that's a much harder, much deeper, and more profound lesson or process that will benefit not just you, but will ripple into other areas of your life. Every act of editing in art, thought, or in self is an act of discovery. Don't fear that chisel. It's not there to take something away from you. It's there to show you what's underneath, because what's underneath could actually be the thing that you want more than the thing you're chiseling away. This is just a quick little episode, something I've been thinking about, something I relate to on a weekly, daily basis, and thought that it was important to share. So, a little short and sweet episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing week, an amazing day, wherever you are. And as always, keep creating. We'll see you next week. Bye.